Hey everyone, it's Adam Mitchell here with Treasure Trading, and we are back with another trade recap. And man, today I traded like garbage. Not happy with the way I traded today. I traded past my max loss, which is why I'm trading with small size right now, because I know that I still haven't mastered that issue, and I still haven't proven to myself that I can not trade like garbage like I did today. And it cost me $100 today. $100 is better than $1,000, and tomorrow I could make 80. The next day after that I could make 40, and then the day after that I could lose 80, right? It's just those tweaks that I still need to make, and those moments, making good trading decisions that is going to make the difference. So yeah, let's get into today's trades here. So I traded 3 stocks today. I traded CMRA, ETNB, and VNET. So ETNB was my big loss from today. In total, I lost 78 on it. Now, ETNB, when I was looking back at this trade, it was just one of those trades where it just kept going down. But we'll take a look at that. And in CMRA and VNET, on both of those, I sold them early. And I could have easily made, $30 to $40 on both of those trades. It's just the situation that I find myself in, where I'm not making money on the stocks that I should be making money on. And then on the stock that I keep taking stabs at, I just keep losing on it. And it's just an unfortunate day to have. It's just not fun, because then after the day's over, you're just thinking, man, I should have held these trades longer, and I should have recognized on ETNB, for example, that it needed to continue to pull back. But like I said, we'll look at that. But yeah, I'm ending the day down $99.47. All right, let's get into the trades here. All right, so my first trade was on VNET. Right, so I've got these levels mapped out here, and it broke through at the open, but it was coming into this other low of this candle back here. So I figured, all right, it's holding up at that level. Maybe that's the level that I should have mapped out. So I got in with 150 shares at $5.30, and I'm ultimately looking for this thing to squeeze up to this yellow line. But I wind up cutting it super early, right? Because, this is perfect right here. All I need to see is this candle not holding up, and I just get so scared and I jump out of it. Maybe that's another one of my issues, is I have a hard time holding a trade until I get stopped out, because when I sell early like I do, it's almost like I'm trying to predict the future. I'm not letting the odds play out, right? Because every trade that you take, you don't know what the future holds. The only thing that you do know is that there's a probability of this happening and there's a probability of that happening, based on the patterns that are present in stock charts and how they repeat themselves over and over again. So, this was a situation where it's like, okay, we're holding up at the lows. Now we're going to see if we can get a move up to the highs. All right, so I should be holding it, selling it if it breaks below the lows here, not just selling it because, we're popping up and now we're backing off and now I'm going to sell it. Because what does it do? Let's see what it does. Fast forwarding here, we're starting to break up. The chart, it's starting to push up. It's like, man, Adam, why are you selling it early? That's been a problem of mine for so long, is selling my trades early. So that continues to squeeze up. Let's see what it winds up doing later on in the day here, or later on in the morning. All right, so fast forwarding here, you know, we can see that price has come up into this level now, right? So it dipped down here, and I was in at 530. I got in at 530 right down here, and it continued all the way up, and now we're up at 570. And now what am I doing? I'm taking trades up near the highs at 566 because I'm thinking that we're going to get a break, right? And, you know, this is later in the morning. You know, this trade right here is a revenge trade. I'll go over my other trades after we're done looking at this stock. But by this time in the morning, I'm extremely frustrated with how my morning's been going. So this is around 10 o'clock, I think, you know, 9:54. And we're approaching this level of resistance that I have mapped out from pre-market. And I'm like, oh man, we're going to get this break and then squeeze up, you know, because this candle right here, I forget how high this candle was. The pre-market high was 650. And we're coming up into 570. And I'm thinking that if we break these highs, we might get a big rip up to 650. But we hadn't broken yet, but this was a 5-minute setup, right? So we did have, you know, the ramp up and then the pullback, and now we're making another push to the upside, right? And if I was trading this like a true professional, I would have gotten in down here, sold it up into this resistance level, and then bought back if it broke. So I'm in with 300 shares at 566. And I wind up adding another 200 shares. So I'm in with 500 shares at 568 on this thing. And I'm hoping to just get like a 20-cent pop. Because if I got a 20-cent pop, then I think that would have put me green on the day or something like that. You know, that would have been a $100 winner, right? I forget exactly how much I was down at this point, but I was like, man, just give me 20 cents on 500 shares. That's $100. And you can see here that we kind of came up and tapped this level, right? And we even broke over it just a little bit, and now we're pulling back again. So I decided to add for that dip after the break, you know, but this thing could have easily flushed on me. Could have very easily flushed on me. So we're still holding up. Oh yeah, so I went ahead and sold it, and I locked up an $18 loss, right? But it's still holding up, and it's squeezing up right here, and now it's still pushing through, right? And we're still holding up, but it's not really giving us that big squeeze. And now we're coming up into 580, and it's just squeezing. It just made a big squeeze up, man. And so, you know, these situations are the worst. When you're in a good trade and you sell it early and then it starts going up. So yeah, that was VNET. You know, I'll pull the chart up to show you how high it went. So this thing wound up squeezing all the way up to 630. I mean, wow. It broke this level, and you know, this is the thing about breakouts, right? It breaks that level and then it squeezes up. Oh, man. All right, yeah, so that was VNET. That was VNET. Let's look at CMRA, right? So VNET, a stock that I was in on good entries. I didn't hold them, missed out on profit. CMRA is the same situation. Okay, so CMRA. So at the open, we are getting a squeeze on this thing, right? It goes from 230 all the way up to 260. And now we're getting a pullback, and I'm waiting for this thing to come down closer to this 237 area, which is where the 200 moving average and the 9 moving average are. So we're getting a pullback, but we're not quite there yet. We're at 248 right now. So let's fast forward. So now we're getting a bigger pullback. And right here, we got the touch, right? I was looking at something else, I was looking at that other stock, ETNB, but I saw on my other screen that this had come down into this level of 237, and I got in with 200 shares at 242, right? So the way that I'm supposed to trade this is, I hold it until it maybe reaches 260, right? And I cut it if it breaks below this support level, because now we have a very obvious level of support. And if it would have broken below that, I would have lost, 15, maybe $20 if I got some slippage. Okay, so I'm in a good trade right now. I just need to let it play out. So let's press play on this and see what I do. Because I'm really curious, why did I sell this so early, right? I'm in a good trade. It hasn't stopped me out yet. I'm waiting though. I'm waiting for it to do something. And right now we can see my mouse was over the sell button as soon as I turned red, right? So I'm going to go back on that real quick. So it's squeezing up. I got my finger over the sell button. And now it's kind of backing off. And I just decided to go ahead and sell it. It's like, what am I doing? And then boom, right after I sold it, it squeezes back up. And now we're at 250, right? We just hit a high of 250. Yeah, so if we take a look at what this thing did. All right, so here we go. I mean, man, look at that. I got out of it right down here. I got in it right down here. And we made a big squeeze up all the way to 280. I was in with 200 shares at 242. And we squeezed all the way up to 280. I mean, there's clearly opportunity to make money here. So with this trade and with my last trade on VNET, or on that last stock, I mean, I could have hit my daily goal. But then I got sucked into the rabbit hole of ETNB, which is the stock that I really lost on. I lost $78 on this one. All right, let's take a look at that one. Okay, so here's my first trade on ETNB. So I got in with 200 shares at 722. So we're coming off the highs here of 775. We're pulling back. Now we've come into VWAP. And I got in with 200 shares at 722. Now, looking back on this, it's almost so painfully obvious that this isn't really the best place to get in. So for one, we've only moved 50 cents off the highs, right? I want to be looking for more of a, the highs being 775. I want to be seeing at least a 77-cent pullback before I'm getting in. So with that in mind, I would more so be looking for a move down to maybe the $7 range, and even this mapped out support level, which I believe is at about 695. So we're at 721. We've only moved, maybe 7% off the highs. And is this really the best place to be getting in? This is how you have to think. Like, the probability of price really bouncing off of this level is probably not that high. And, this is something that I need to get better at as well, is judging how far a stock should pull back before I'm getting in. I do get a lot of good dip entries, but then on the other hand, I get sucked into these dips that aren't really good places to be getting in. So at any rate, I got in with 200 shares at 722, and it continues and it dips down even more, and I'm down about $18 here. Let's see, I think I just wind up cutting it. Yep. So I sold it and locked up a $17 loss. And even that entry that I did just take on this stock was a little bit too high above VWAP, right? Because that's what I was thinking, was that it was going to come into VWAP and bounce off. I bought it when it was still, 10 cents above VWAP. So maybe I could have been getting in at 713 instead, because it was inevitably going to touch VWAP, but, this stock did just keep pulling back anyways. Yeah, let's see what happened on that one. All right, so here we go. So we have now dipped down into this line here. So right there, we have touched this line, and I got in with another 200 shares at 706. All right, this thing hit a low. This candle right here, it tapped this yellow line at 696. Right, so that would have been the better entry probably. I need to be getting entries as close as I can to these support levels, which means I probably need to start putting my orders out there instead of marketing in and ultimately getting bad fills, because I'm in at 706 now. That's 10 cents off of the entry that I should have been getting in, which at 200 shares, that represents my max loss, right? Because it might come down and test that again, versus if I got in closer to the entry, okay, well, I'm going to be cutting it if it breaks below that, which means that if I'm getting in closer to that support level, then when it breaks it, my loss is going to be smaller than if I'm getting in higher above the support level. So right here, it's like, this is where I could be cutting my loss for that break. But because I got in as high as I did, I'm taking a bigger loss on this thing than I probably should be. So as we can see here, I'm down $22 on this trade, and overall I'm down 40. I'm about to cut this thing because it's cracking below. So I'm selling it. I got filled at, it looked like 691, right? So let's compare that. If I'm getting that best entry, let's say at 697, I'm getting it with 200 shares, and I'm cutting it at the same price that I just sold it at 691. Well, that's going to be 6 cents, right? So that's going to be about $12 of a loss, versus what did happen here. I'm getting in at 706 and I'm selling it at 691. So that's 15 cents. So that's $30. So I'm more than doubling what my loss should actually be, because I'm not putting my orders out there. I'm not getting the best entries. All that stuff adds up. And getting really good at trading means trading in the smartest way that you possibly can, but also doing it in the heat of the moment as well. So right now we can see that I'm down in total $46 on this stock. And it's at this point that I start to enter into what I call like the red zone, right? Because my max loss per day is supposed to be between $40 and $60. So I'm flustered at this point. I'm not happy with how I've been trading, and it's just unfortunate. And so I should have stopped trading at this point. I couldn't walk away, right? I didn't want to end the day a loser. I just didn't want to. So ETNB. All right, so fast forwarding here, it's continuing to crack below this level. And now we're seeing a pretty significant pullback, right? We have all these red candles from 775 all the way down to 670. And so I was waiting for it to come down into this level here at about 655. All right, so I had looked at a different chart, and as we can see that it pulled back to 660. And by the time that I realized that it had made this pullback, I jumped in at 672 with 100 shares. Now I'm looking for this thing to at least move back up into this yellow line, which, that would have been about 25 cents a share. So it's continuing to squeeze up here. And I decided to go ahead and add another 100 shares, right? Because I'm thinking that we're going to get that push up. But here's the reality. I'm trading like garbage right now. Like, this is not good. I should not be taking entries halfway up to my profit target. right? The entry was down here. I should not be getting in halfway up because I don't know if it's going to make it up to here. And if I'm getting in halfway up, well, now I am exposing myself to unnecessary risk by not getting the best entry, right? I should have been getting in closer down here to 660. So it's backing off that level. I mean, because we're coming up into the 9 moving average, which is always an area of support or resistance, right? So this is an area to be selling into, and then maybe seeing if it sets up again or something, or pulls back. So it's holding up. I'm still holding on to this thing. Okay, so now we're getting that push up, and I'm just waiting for it to come up into this yellow line, and I'm going to go ahead and sell it if it can do that. Yeah, so right here we're at 687, and I'm up about $20, which is good, right? Like I want to be making those $20, $30, $40 winners, right? Based on the share size that I'm taking right now, right? Because in the future, right, like those $20, $30, $40 winners are going to be $200, $300, $400 winners, right? Based on the size of account that I have, so I have to keep that in perspective that these $20 winners, I mean, that's good. Like that's a good amount to be up, given the size that I'm trading and how much I'm risking, right? But here's the thing. I have an average of 200 shares at 676. Now that's not really the best entry. I needed to be getting in down here, closer to 660. That would have been a bigger winner, right? I mean, we're basically getting the push up from here all the way up to here. But I don't cut it, or I don't take profit, and we see it just drop off. And I go ahead and cut it at basically break even. So it's like, man, I should have taken profit when I had it, which is something that I need to get good at. All right, so right here, we are coming into the lows again. But, just like back here, we still haven't actually touched it. Like we haven't actually touched this level, which, that can be tricky because we did get a bounce off of this level, and maybe we might see a bounce off of this level and not quite an actual touch of the 655, 656 level, which is the 200 moving average and this support level that I have mapped out. At any rate, I did get in with 200 shares again at 669 because I'm thinking, man, okay, this might be the place where we make that rip up. Like I'm just waiting for this thing to rip up because we had this big move to the downside. Now we have a bit of an ABCD setup forming. Now we just need to get that push up. But let's see what it does. So this candle turns red, and I sell it, and I lost about $10 on that trade. So now I'm down in total $53 on this trade. But let's see what it does. So it starts to squeeze back up again. And I decide to jump back in again with 100 shares at 667. And as we can see, we got another big push to the upside, right? I mean, just like I was thinking what was going to happen when I got in down here. But the candle turned red for a slight second, right? Like it was going up and then it pulled back. And I'm like, oh shit, I got to sell it. So I sold it. But then it goes right back up. And man, it's like, what is going on, right? So I get in with another 100 shares. And now I'm in with 200 shares at 673. And as we can see again, I am up $20 on this trade again. Right, so that's another $20, right? I could have locked up 20 on this trade back here, and then I actually did get the good entry right here, and now I'm up $20 again. It's like, man, like that's $40 right there, right? Like my profit target is 60 to 100, and okay, that's $40. It's like, man, that's pretty good, but I'm still waiting for this thing to break above this level, but I'm trading like garbage. I'm trading like absolute garbage. I'm supposed to be getting in at the lows and selling it up into the resistance, buying back at support, selling it up into resistance, cutting my loss if it breaks below support, and then re-entering if it breaks above resistance. But I'm not doing that. I'm getting in like halfway up. You know, right here I did get in towards the lows, but then I'm not selling it up at resistance. I'm holding it and hoping that it's going to break above that resistance level. So I'm trading like garbage. I'm not locking up profit when I have it. And as we can see here, it starts to pull back again, and we're back close to my entry. And let's see. So I wind up adding to it. I added another 100 shares, and now I have 300 shares at 672. It's really making no sense. Like, I'm buying in the middle of the range. It makes no sense, because what's likely to happen? What's likely to happen is it's going to continue to pull back and maybe bounce off this level again. So there we go. We're starting to pull back. So we're at 670 here, and I switch over to the 5-minute. And, you know, right here, we can see that it's pulling back pretty hard, and I'm down $22 on that trade. And, you know, right here, I'm about to go ahead and cut this trade. And altogether, I locked up a $78 loss on this stock because I traded it like absolute garbage, which is unfortunate. But let's pull up the chart on that real quick. So, you know, looking at this chart, you know, it pulled back into this level, ultimately bounced up, you know, but it just didn't really give a whole lot of opportunity. I could have traded this area so much better. I really could have, but I got sucked into this rabbit hole of I just kept taking losses on it. And so I locked up $78 worth of a loss. But yeah, so that was my day of trading. It's pretty disappointing. You know, but I'll come back tomorrow, and man, the things that I really need to work on, holding until my profit target. And I mean, today I was getting bad entries. Like, I wasn't getting in at the prices I should have. I was getting in after it had started making the move, which increases my risk exposure. So yeah, my performance was not good today. I'm going to be back at it again tomorrow. And as always, if you guys like my recaps, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like. And I will see you guys in the next one.